Happy Friday, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this another session. Here we are, and it's Friday again, and we are thankful to be alive and to be well. We are truly thankful. This is where we are each Friday at this time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. It is where we have these kind of discussions and conversations. It is where we build people and it is where we change lives. And we are a minute behind this morning. Good morning, Dr. Howell, but life happens. Life happens, and we are here. We are here. We are here. So, good morning, everyone. Come on in. Come on in and join us. If you're there, come on in and join us. With me is my co host, Dr. Siegfried Howell. He is a life, happiness, and relationship coach and consultant. And Dr. Howell is also a master life coach. And he's also available for corporate training and development. And as usual, I am yours truly, Dr. Janice Brooks. I am a leadership consultant, a life strategist, and also a pastoral counselor available for corporate training and development. Today, we are here to talk about a topic that we believe is so relevant, especially in our day and time. We will be talking today about the true cost of effective leadership. The true cost of effective leadership. And we all know that effective leadership comes with its own set of challenges and experiences. And I almost want to say, and expenses as well, because effective leadership is really something that is expensive. And we cannot put it aside. It is not something that should go unnoticed. Effective leadership is not just about making decisions or guiding a team. It involves a deep commitment to personal growth and also to the well being of others. And this morning, we are going to look at effective leadership and its cost under three main headings. We're going to look at it under the time, the energy, and the resources that has to be employed. We're going to be looking at the emotional and psychological toll that it takes on the person. And then we're going to be looking at the relationships that they must maintain, firstly with themselves, then with their family, with their team, and with their community. And what a better time to have Dr. Howell, because we know that Dr. Howell is a relationship expert. And so we are going to be diving into this topic this morning. And when we talk about leadership and the true cost, we know, and I would say personally that I believe it comes with a hefty price tag, especially when we consider like time and energy and resources. Sometimes we're tempted to look at people and we're tempted to criticize them and to say that they are not doing the right thing, or they should do this, or they should do that. But when we come to understand the time and the energy and the resources that they have to employ to become that effective leader that they are, then we better understand, because it's not just about making decisions. It's about deciding countless hours of strategizing and planning and executing all of these things they have to do. And many times the demands can be very overwhelming. And it often feels like there is not enough time in a day to tackle everything that we have to do on our plate. And beyond time and beyond energy, it requires to effectively carry out these duties, and these can be draining at times. So let us be mindful when we see a leader. Sometimes they need help themselves. It brings me back to the Bible and Jesus. Jesus was the all-sufficient God. He was God by himself. but he knew that he need others beside him to help him to carry the load. The time, the energy, the resources that he need, he had to get others. And so leaders need to inspire others. They need to inspire their team. They need to navigate challenges. They need to maintain a positive atmosphere, all of which take a significant time, resources, and energy. And it requires that they constantly balance these things with what we're going to be talking about next, the emotional and the family and the relationships that they have in their lives. So, Dr. Howell, lead off here when we talk about the time, the resources, and the energy that it takes for an effective leader to really manage. What are we talking about? How are you seeing it from your perspective?
From my perspective, a lot of times, because I look at things from the relationship standpoint, the first part of the relationship that I want to look at is the relationship to money. What money will you have to put into building yourself, developing yourself, and growing yourself so that people will want to follow? We've said in earlier broadcasts that if you're a leader, but you are walking and nobody is following you, you're just simply taking a stroll. And so, with that being said, you need to be able to inspire people. And it's going to take a level of growth and development to inspire the people that you want to inspire. Because we're always going to have people looking at us and want to emulate us. But as a leader, you may be in a situation where you may not be 100% in your comfort zone. So you have to continually inspire yourself to grow, develop, and become the best version of yourself so that people will want to follow you, because the best leadership is when people want to follow you, not when you force them to comply. So it's going to take money to do that, and then time is one of those so money is a resource, but time is also a resource. But a time is a finite resource. A lot of times people say, I don't have time to do this, I don't have time to do that, I don't have money for this, I don't have money for that. So time is one of those things that, because it is finite and we all have an expiration date, we want to know what time can I allot to growing myself, to developing myself, to making sure that I reflect on what I did last week, what I did today, and was it the most effective for me and for the company as well as for my team. Because I remember when I was a teacher and I was in the classroom, we had these meetings, these school meetings, and the science department, we had a way of thinking that was different from the math department and their way of thinking, that was different from the social studies department and their way of thinking, that was different from the language arts department and their thinking, and from the athletic team and their thinking. And so each department requires a certain level of skill, a certain type of thought, and a certain type of leadership. So if you are a leader for the science department, as I was at my institution, and you are language arts leader for your team, but you're meeting with the principal and their team, we're all leaders in our own right. And so the principal had to find a way of getting the thinking of the science, social studies, language arts, athletic team, and all those people on track with their way of viewing things. And so a leader has to remember that there are going to be other leaders around them, and so you have to not just inspire your subordinates, but you have to inspire the people around you so that everyone can jump on board. If you look at Mother Teresa and how she led, if you look at Malcolm X and how he led, if you look at Martin Luther King and how he led, they all led differently, but they all had people following. And so the time needed to develop your skill, to develop your craft, you're going to need time to be alone. You're going to need time to reflect. You're going to need time to adapt. You're going to need time to do everything necessary to get the job done. But then last but not least, the most important is life. And a lot of people, and I had this conversation with a buddy of mine 2 days ago. I was trying to tell him that there's a difference between life and time. But oftentimes we associate life with time. Oh, I don't have time for that. But we mean that's taking up too much time in my life. but they're not synonymous, because you can live a full life but not have any impact on anyone. Then that means you did not use your time effectively. You did not use your time efficiently. And so life is about legacy. And as John Maxwell clearly states, level 5 is how do you well, level 4 and level 5, how are you developing leaders to take over after you're gone? See, a level 4 and level 5 leader is not scared about people coming and taking his job or her job. A level 5 leader is so they've gotten to the point where if they step away, the company will continue moving well. And a lot of times people think, oh man, they're replacing me. That's a good thing if you get replaced, because that means you did a good job. And
Wow.
maybe it was your time to go, but you weren't willing to go yet. And so nature versus nurture took over and replaced you. But if you train people properly and you inspire people properly, then you can get to the point where your life can duplicate enough leadership where when you leave, there's not a big hole left right there. And that's the problem with a lot of companies and a lot of leadership that we have in today's day and age. They're so flamboyant, they're so exotic that when they leave, there's no one left to fill those shoes.
Wow. Dr. Howell, you have wrapped up quite a bit in there. And I like how you capitalize resources as the time, the energy, and also the requirements. For example, the technological requirements, the tools, the people. All of that is wrapped up in resources. And as you rightly said, leaders must ensure that they have all they need to succeed. This means that at times they really have to make tough choices
Mhm.
about where to allocate the resources, who can lead, as you expressed in this area, because there will always be some type of stress and pressure in the end. And the true cost of leadership is a complex one with all of these elements coming into play. So we're going to, for the next 50 minutes, we are going to be looking at the last two, which is the emotional and the psychological toll. And then we're going to be looking at the relationships that the leader has to navigate. The cost of true leadership is what we're talking about today. So when we talk about the emotional and the psychological toll of leadership, I am thinking about the weight and the expectations and the stress that comes with it. And when we think about the weight of expectations, some of the times persons or people, even our team, tend to look at the leader as non-human. And I want to say non-human because human has limitations. And when they believe that a leader must be able to do everything, then you're looking at that leader as a non-human. And they usually find themselves at time navigating through a sea of emotions, trying to be able to keep up with the expectations of everyone, both their own expectations, the expectations of their team members, the expectation of the organization. And this can be really very draining. This can cause an emotional and psychological toll on them. So when we really drill deep into this, let us look at some of the things that they are required to do. They are, and when I say non-human, let's think about it. They are often required to maintain a positive front all the time, even when they're feeling overwhelmed and feeling uncertain and things are not happening the way that they want it to happen or the way it should happen. They are constantly required to balance acts like burnout and juggle the responsibilities of their team, and they are asked also, or they're required to use empathy at times, and all of this can cause anxiety and stress and feelings of isolation, and making them feel as if they are in a hidden place where no one understands what they're going through. So leadership comes with a significant cost. And so it is essential for leaders to understand that they are human. And so the first thing that they have to do is to take care of themselves first. They have to understand the importance of self-care and the support that they need. I believe that every leader needs a coach or a guide or someone to assist them to manage and to keep going, because they're going to at times feel as if, no, I can't go any further, I have to leave this right here. So when we talk about the emotional and the psychological demands of a role of a leader, these can be huge and these can be challenging, and leaders are human also. Dr. Howell.
You know what? I was watching a documentary that Mike Tyson gave, and he said he met Muhammad Ali when he was young, but he watched a fight with Muhammad Ali in his later years, and that guy pounded on Muhammad Ali. I don't know if y'all remember that one beating that Muhammad Ali had. Well, Mike Tyson said in his mind, he said, when I get older, I'm going to pound on him because he pounded on my idol. And Mike Tyson got a chance to fight that guy, and Mike Tyson whooped on him. And as he was beating him, he said, I'm doing this for my hero. And I'm saying that to say this: you don't know the effect you have on an individual. You have a certain amount of influence as a leader. You have to remember that you're always a leader, just like a cop is always a cop. If a cop sees a crime being committed, he can't say, I'm not on duty right now. You lucky you didn't do that when I was on duty, because I would have done something about it. You're always a cop. And so you're always a leader. And so at some point in time, you will have to understand that people are always watching you. I remember my dad was a leader of an organization, a religious organization, and one time my brother ran over his foot with a lawnmower, and my dad had on shorts and a t-shirt, and he jumped into the car and drove my brother to the hospital. He's at the hospital, and some church members saw him and said, Pastor, I've never seen you without a suit on. What's going on? And so people are always watching. And the one time he was out of a suit, there was somebody there to see him. So you have to understand that there's an emotional burden that comes with that. There's a certain amount of loneliness that comes with being a leader. If you can't find other leaders that are in your sphere to kind of motivate you to be a soundboard with, then you, as Dr. Janice said, you're going to need someone to kind of coach you, mentor you, or give you some type of counseling, because it is lonely up there sometimes. And then sometimes there are times that you have to balance value with morality, with decisions that need to be made. And sometimes something might be legal, but it's not right. And so as a leader, you're going to have to kind of figure out what is the best balancing act I can do to make sure I don't violate my values and morality, even though there is a slight discrepancy between what is legal and what is right. If you look at the civil rights movement, there were some problems there where things were legal, but that did not make it right. So it was a moral issue versus a legal issue. And so those are things that leaders have to worry about. And then my father also told me a few months back that there were situations where the law said I had to fire you, but he had to try and be the most empathetic, or give the most mercy that he could at that point in time, even though the company bylaws said I had to get rid of them. You can't just say, look, you're fired, pack yourself and go. You have to, these people have families, these people have responsibilities, and you have to find a way to maneuver that so that everyone loses to some level. If the company always wins, sometimes empathy is being discarded. And that's the point that I want to make with that: leadership and legality with morality is a walk that's very difficult as a effective leader to walk.
Wow. Legality with morality. Linking those two to get together. It's not an easy walk. It's a difficult walk. Here we are this Friday morning. We're talking about the true cost of effective leadership. We looked at the time, the resources, and we also looked at the psychological and the emotional effects on leadership. And the final thing we're going to look at in the next 5 minutes here is the relationships that they have to maintain, relationships first with themselves, relationship with family, and relationships with their community. And as we said before, leadership, we are pounding it. It has its own set of unique challenges, especially when it comes to balancing relationships with family, team members, and the community. And as we said before, let us consider again that leadership is not just about making decisions or guiding their team, it's also about nurturing the connections. Dr. Howell mentioned this before, and being present for those who matter most. And when we talk about the matter most, I want us to remember that the leader has to understand that they cannot pour from an empty cup. So I believe that they matter most. They have to find way to fill themselves up in order to go out and fill others. And so these relationships that require nurturing, it comes from an emotional place. And when we say before that the emotional toll can be significant, leaders will often find themselves torn between their responsibility and the needs of their family and their loved ones. And we see that many often. I'm trying to remember which of the famous pastor who got a divorce. And he said that he spent most of his time out in the field preaching, ministering to people, but he did not spend any time with his loved one, with his family at home. Every week he was gone to another city, to another country, to another place. So the relationship with self and family is so important, those loved ones, because at the end of the day, they're the ones you have, but yet you have to go out and be with the team and be with the other persons around you in the community. So building strong relationships is essential for effective leadership, but it can sometimes feel like a juggling act. And so they must invest the time and the energy that we talked about earlier to make sure that they incorporate all three: themselves, their family, and all the other relationships that come, so that when they lead from a place of strength and not a place of guilt and stress. So let me have Dr. Howell take over right here now, because he's a relationship expert and he only has 4 minutes
Mhm.
to wrap up this here. How would you talk to leaders about the relationship aspect of their leadership?
Balance. Balance is the best way that I can wrap that up. Because if you look, Israel had some prophets that were good prophets, but bad parents. Was it Samuel that who broke his neck when he fell back, and because his boys, God told him what he was going to do with his sons. I can't remember. I think it was
Mhm.
Samuel and not
It
Elijah.
was
I think, huh?
Eli.
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 Okay, yeah, Eli. Okay, right.
Mm.
And so, but Eli was a good prophet. Now and then you look at some of the high priests that Israel had. They had sons that were evil, and they were doing all sorts of things to mess up what God had put in place for His people. And I I want to think about companies like Blockbuster who had a relationship with their culture, and the leadership thought we have a stronghold on this particular marketplace, so we're not going to adapt. So when Netflix came to Blockbuster, they said, no, you look at streaming, we're going to stick to videos. and VHSs. And so they didn't have a relationship with the change of the community. They didn't have a relationship with the pulse of what was going on, what was needed. And so as a leader, you need to have a relationship with growth, and growth as it relates to comfort. A lot of times things might be going well, but a leader has to be able to see in the future and look towards the future and bring people towards a better future. But sometimes that means letting people get out of their comfort zone, and there's going to be pushback. Why do we have to change? We're doing well. Well, I see that there is a change in the community coming. I see that there's a change in the wants and the needs of our customers in the horizon. And so I want to take us here. Let's open up a department that will research this area, or develop this area. I think about Warren Buffett. I was listening to one of the trainings that he was giving, and he was saying one of the reasons that makes him so good at predicting stocks is that every day he dedicates time to looking at the stocks from the previous day and from the previous week. And so he sees trends. And by keeping up with that over a 30, 40, 50-year, 60-year period, he can see trends that other people cannot see. So you have to have a relationship with growth and going outside of your comfort zone. You can't just read things that are in your area. I just heard someone, there was a guy, he was talking to Elon Musk, and he was like, how did you get into SpaceX, and how did you learn that? He said, I read. And they said that Elon Musk used to read 4 books a day
Wow.
in time he was a kid. So if he's reading all that amount, can you imagine at his age now the amount of information that he has? He taught himself the space business. Think about that. What can't we do if we put our minds to it? We just have to be willing to get out of our comfort zone and put the time into it. So I'm going to stop right here. I'm just going to reiterate everything really fast. Leaders have to remember that things come in cycles. Things are going to change. So you can't get used to being comfortable. You have to be willing to grow, and you have to cause your team to grow and look at the trends in the community so that you can take the company towards the growth that is necessary for your company to remain relevant.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Howell. An excellent way to wrap up this morning's session, where we talked about the true cost of effective leadership. Once again, we said that effective leadership comes with its own set of challenges and expenses that often goes unnoticed. It's not about making decisions or guiding a team. It involves a deep commitment to personal growth and the well-being of others. We looked at the time, the energy, and the resources. We looked at the emotional and the psychological toll. We looked at the relationships, the family, the self, the team, and the community. So, in the final analysis, resources will play a crucial role in leadership. Whether it's financial, human capital, backing, technological, all of these are needed. But we want to look at the emotional toll. That is huge. They have to first be at peace with themselves to go out and be at peace with others. They have to self-care in order to go out and manage a team. And finally, the relationship expert talked to you about how these relationships must be nurtured in order to have the best of what is required. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for joining us this Friday morning once again as we talked about the huge cost, the true cost of effective leadership. If you're thinking about leadership, know that it comes with a cost. God bless you as you move into your final day of your working week and into your weekend. I hope that you take something away from this session and understand that leaders are not just in the workplace. Leaders are within every single one of us. We are all leaders in our own rights. Have a great rest of your Friday. God bless you. Take good
Bye,
care.
everyone.